Africa has been plagued by different kinds of diseases ranging from malaria to cholera, HIV/AIDS, and now Ebola virus that causes viral hemorrhagic fever that affects multiple organ systems in the body and is often accompanied by bleeding. Now, the recent outbreak of the Ebola virus started in March this year, and the first hit Guinea, then Sierra Leone, and Liberia, and now Nigeria, all in West African countries. Early symptoms of the virus include sudden onset of fever, weakness, muscle pain, headaches, and a sore throat. It later degenerates to vomiting, diarrhea, impaired kidney and liver function, and some malfunctioning, and sometimes internal and external bleeding. Now, Ebola spreads through contact with organs and body fluids such as blood, saliva, urine, and other secretions of infected people. With more than 1,000 cases reported and about 900 deaths or more, hardest-hit countries like Liberia have called for a state of emergency, and Nigeria is taking strong steps to help check the spread of the deadly virus. This poses the question of how prepared is Nigeria to tackle the virus? Good morning and welcome to the program this morning. I am Veronica Onuchi, your anchor for today. Joining me in the studio is Peter Ogunubi, a medical doctor and immediate past PRO, now the Deputy Secretary, Nigeria Medical Association. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Now, WHO has declared Ebola an international public health emergency. Why is Ebola, or rather what makes Ebola so deadly?
Well, thank you for that question. When you started, you read out symptoms of Ebola. And from that symptoms, you can see that they mimic symptoms like malaria, typhoid, and cold. And don't forget that these two conditions, malaria, typhoid, they are endemic in this environment. That is, they are already here. We've been managing it. Practically every one of us has had one form of fever this year. So naturally, when you come to the hospital, an unsuspecting doctor or healthcare worker may mistake this particular condition to be that. More so, an unsuspecting patient may think he has malaria or typhoid, and he just go to nearby chemist as usual and buy drugs. And before he presents, symptoms will have ravaged. Another reason why Ebola is dangerous and deadly is because we're talking of a condition that has no cure for now, no vaccination against it. Even polio virus, with all its potential danger and everything, we have polio vaccine that once we take it, it will prevent. But Ebola has no vaccine, no cure, and the mortality. The worst that can happen at times in polio virus is disability, but the person may be alive. But we're talking of something that has almost 60 to 90% fatality. So with this, that symptoms mimic other usual conditions, the fact that there's no cure, no vaccination to protect it, and the outcome is fatal at a large percentage.
Now, this is not the first time there's an Ebola outbreak in Africa. It's about 35 years ago. Now, this is said to be 4 times, has grown 4 times when it happened the previous time. Now, are there chances that this could get into or develop into a global pandemic?
Well, WHO has already said it. I'm talking of World Health Organization, and it made it a public health emergency. That alone tells us that it is not only a thing of West Africa, not only that of Africa, but it is a global phenomenon now. It is a global public health emergency. You hear a New Yorker being tested, though not yet confirmed. 2 Americans were affected in Liberia, they've been flown home. Some are talking of the fact that Spain or Sweden recorded the first suspected case and had that in the news this morning. So we're not talking of Africa now. We're talking of Africa, talking of Asia, we're talking of Europe, North America, South America, Australia. No one is safe.
Still in Africa, it happened, you know, when you talked about no vaccine and nothing has been discovered to treat the virus, but it took 35 years. Why is it difficult? Or why hasn't Africa developed something that could check this virus?
If America, with all its power and everything, the Zima drug that's just being experimented, if since the time 1976 the Ebola broke out is DR Congo, and now we're only talking of experimental and trial phase of a particular vaccine in America, how much more Africa? We are battling with war, we are battling with other forms of epidemics, malaria, HIV, you understand? We are also battling with famine. How many African nations can even afford to feed themselves 3 square meals? Water, desert encroachment. So Africa is laden with problems. Our technological know-how is terribly backward. And with all these things in place, where's the room for research? So I guess these problems that the war, everything that Africa is laden with, that is why they could not think of that. Unfortunately, we have the resources. We could have. And that's why we cannot forget to mention political mismanagement and political anomaly that is happening in many of African nations. So with all this conglomeration of problems and mirage of problems, we discover that is why we are where we are today in terms of research.
Speaking of the experimental drug, like you mentioned, Zima, now it has raised a lot of controversies because the US president said it is too premature to send the drug to Africa. Do they stand justified by the statement?
Well, don't forget that people learn from history. I mean, you won't be surprised America is taking a very serious, cautious step not to just dole out these drugs, even though sentimentally we want them to do so. The drug is in trial phase. And when a drug is in trial phase, it has to be tested in the laboratory, it has to be tested on rats, rodents, or guinea pig.
It has been tested on
and everything. No, I'm talking of phases of drugs. You understand? The way this is still on that trial phase that you've not tested it in a real human being, and watch out and see the consequences. They tried it on the 2 doctors because Ebola is deadly and they willingly signed that they want it tested on them. What happens if there's a long-term neurological complication in future? That is why when a drug has not been, and that's why you don't hear that it is FDA approved. The fact that it is not FDA approved means you cannot categorically say this drug is safe for this. You may use Zima for Ebola, and then maybe in the next 2 years, the person goes blind, or the person becomes totally lame, or the person even has another mutant gene that will even replicate and become even 10 times as terrible as Ebola. So with all these implications, every nation will want to be careful when you have discovered any particular drug that has not gone through this chain of research. And then you cannot categorically say this drug works, no side effects, either immediate, long-term, or short-term side effects. And that's why America, for me, is unjustified for now.
Okay, if eventually they send the drug to Africa, do you think Africans will agree to accept the vaccine, looking at the fact that they are even afraid to accept the polio vaccine?
Well, I believe it's not a matter of Africa agreeing to take the vaccine or not. God forbid if I have Ebola today and I look at my chances of dying, to do something is better than do nothing. I will sign to get the vaccine because whether I take the vaccine or not, I'm looking at death. You understand? Except I am assured by my managing doctor that people have survived Ebola. We see a percentage of people that survive it, that you fall into that percentage, you will not die, you will live, and then I can talk about, don't worry about your drug has not gone through necessary trial, okay? But when people are faced with this, I think it's a matter of life and death, so they may have to take that choice.
Now, the ministers of Southern Africa have met to discuss preventive measures of trying to ensure that the spread of the virus doesn't get to that region. Now, isn't that what the Western African countries should be doing now, coming together to fight this virus?
Well, don't forget, sometimes ago, the ministers of health, they met, and these were the things that was discussed. But you know, each country has its own attitude. Some attitudes, some are very proactive, some have like a classic attitude, some believe in culture, religion. You know, many of these things affect our action and preparedness. So it's now a matter of it's left for every country in Africa to look at their level of preparedness, because I believe months before this thing got to Nigeria, for example, there were certain things that we ought to put in place. But we are not doing badly now. But I believe we can still do more than what we have on ground.
Well, speaking of preparedness, we know that this virus was transported into Nigeria by a Liberian man called Patrick Soya, and the Liberian government has apologized. Now, how prepared, in your view, is Nigeria to tackle this virus facility-wise?
Well, I was told that the Liberian guy, Patrick Soya, of blessed memory, the flight was 165 minutes, and my medical knowledge tells me that you couldn't have developed such symptoms within 165 minutes. That raises a lot of questions on the fact that was it quite symptomatic even before boarding that plane, and because it collapsed right there at the airport. That tells you the level of carelessness on the part of Liberian government and on the part of our government. Okay? But we hope that such, and that's why many things are going on, screening exercises and co in different airports now. Many of airlines are being controlled and checked properly. So I believe these are the things governments are now doing, but we ought to have done them before. But in order to curtail these things, we should go beyond screening. We should go beyond trying to tell people to wash their hands with soap and water.
So what else should they do?
There should be mass dissemination of information in different language. Don't forget that a large, excuse me, a large percentage of Nigerians live in rural areas. These people will come, trade in the urban area, and they will go back. So how much knowledge do they have? We need to sensitize people in different dialects. Kanuri, Yoruba, Hausa, Ibibio, Igbo, whatever language. Let there be pictures, because this is a condition that is leading with so much myth. And I'm not sure you're going to ask about some of these myths.
Yes.
That is already surrounding.
So you could gladly tell us now what these myths are.
Well, people have talked about, I mean, I've seen lots of funny pictures, see someone on Okada trying to suffocate himself, that he would rather die of suffocation than die of Ebola. See someone saying, waking up and taking asking the children to come and use the water to bath, and he was pouring salt on that in that water. You see people telling you that you can take bitter cola.
Yes,
everything
there were talks of
bitter
bitter
cola. You know, people need to know that bitter cola.
And this morning there were talks of
salt and water. Which is dangerous. Because if an old man that has hypertension takes enough salt and water, he or she may develop stroke. Salt will even cause cracking of the skin, and you're even exposing yourself more to this virus. And that's why some of these taboos need to be nipped in the bud. And that's why we are coming on here to say some of these things. Because by the time you are told that you should use salt and water, Tom was telling me something yesterday that they go to the malam selling the bitter cola. The man said the thing has finished, that everybody has rushed it. If I have not seen such a trade before. You see, what happens? Someone now begins to take this bitter cola, begins to use salt and water, he or she will not go to the right place. There are numbers that Lagos State government has read out. There are emergency numbers you can die. But because I've been told that I can take salt and water, I can take bitter cola, I can put salt in my bathroom, you know, all these things will negate the action of the government and the action of the medical association. But we are telling our people, this is a medical emergency. It's a public health emergency. When you have fever, you need to approach orthodox medical center. Don't resort to myth.
Now, don't forget that Africans are people who are deeply entrenched in the practice of their culture. How does this affect, the spread of the virus?
Well, you need to know that when public perils exist, certain things we have to bow down. And that's why Saheli from Liberia will say something, Madam Eli will say something, that they are going to be encroaching on certain rights for now. 90-day state of emergency, everything, and gathering, some of these things. So if you have a particular culture that will be detrimental to the general populace, I think government needs to come out strongly against some of this culture. If the culture in my area is every Saturday we must eat bats, and we have been told that bats and some other animals are the natural reservoir of this particular virus, why must we eat bats for now? So in that place, if my culture is to do that, forget it. If my culture is to wake up and everybody in my neighbor, I kiss the person or I pet the person or I gog the person, for now, it has to give way.
But it's difficult.
Well, it also is difficult because if there's a law in place, you understand, and people know that we're going to be doing a massive clampdown, there will be task force to enforce some of these things. You may not be able to eradicate it 100%, but at least it's going to send signals, it's going to send warning signals to people that it is no longer business as usual for now. We are not raising panic. It is the reality on ground that certain cultural practices just have to give way. And that is why I believe in mass dissemination of information. Because there are three trials. Information gives knowledge. Knowledge will change attitude, and attitude will definitely change behavior. So knowledge, attitudinal change, and behavioral change. You must impart knowledge first. How much of impartation? Some of these rumors and myths are even widely circulated more than the normal and standard procedures for the treatment and management of Ebola. Why should that be so? Orientation agencies should come up. We should not be myopic enough to think that life stops in Lagos or Abuja or the cities. You must deploy massively people to go to areas. And that is why you'll be talking, you'll be hearing Doctors Without Border, the Gates Foundation and co. These are non-governmental organizations. And don't forget MDG. One of the last steps of MDG is global partnership. No government can do it alone. No medical association can do it alone. No association can save this situation. I'm calling non-governmental organizations. They need to come up and they need to assist the government, especially in real health education.
All right, the numbers are on the screen, so you can call in and make your contributions while this discussion is ongoing. Now, let's come down to Lagos State. How prepared is Lagos State facility-wise? The other day, the Lagos State Health Commissioner, Jide Idris, was calling on volunteers to come. They could sign life insurance policies and all of that. And then thank God, we have reports that doctors have called up their strike. So we are hoping that there will be more, we'll see more response to the checking this Ebola outbreak.
Let me ask you a question. Has doctors called up their strike?
We have reports saying doctors have called up their strike.
Well, let me put this record straight. I don't know where the letter came up from. There was a purported letter single-handedly signed by the president of the
All right, we have a caller online. Yakub is calling on the show. Hello, Yakub.
Yeah, good morning, even though you keep me waiting for long.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah, the doctor spoke very well, and then I like the way the man spoke. You see, this is the problem of our federal government. This thing has been happening in our neighbor country almost 4 or 5 months ago, if not more than that. What stopped federal government to deploy all these necessary equipment to our airport for they not allow these guys come to Nigeria and then collapse here in Nigeria? You see, now, federal government are beginning to tell us that they have already deployed all these necessary equipment. Why now? It's supposed to be in place for the long period because Nigeria is a wide market, we are in large population. Are you getting me now? Now, you have to doctor a question now that you had that they already called up the strike. I even thank God they are in work. They are not in work that time. Because these people are in work. What will happen? They will take these guys to maybe loot or somewhere. What will happen to us?
I guess we lost Yakub there.
But sorry, let me quickly say something. Nigerian Medical Association have not called off the ongoing strike. There's a press release which came after the emergency delegate meeting ended 5:30 a.m. yesterday. But this purported letter that has been flying around the media houses was even released on Wednesday when the meeting started. You don't get a communique before the meeting started. So the communique that came after the meeting states categorically that NMA strike continues. However, and that's why the media got it wrong. However, the Nigerian doctors are committed to the health of the populace, and we will always be ready to assist the way we have been doing in terms of bomb blast. We were on strike when the bomb blast in Kano, Kaduna occurred, and our people were mobilized. And you will never hear a case of a doctor abandoning a bomb blast victim. So also in this case, we said, once government puts in necessary precautions and personal protective equipment in place, and we have isolation center and co, doctors will always help out. Because even when the strike was ongoing, and it's still ongoing, we have always been helping. So Nigerian doctors are willing to help. The present committees comprise of so many of our members. We are even working presently, safeguarding the health of the populace. We will not fold our hands and say we are on strike and we allow our people to die. It is not possible. The strike, based on the issues we have with the federal government, is still ongoing. But the Nigerian Medical Association have already directed its doctors, go attend to any